Alright, so what we're going to start doing in the subject now is start creating our own graphical user interfaces, also called GUIs or GUIs. What a GUI effectively is a set of pictures that are drawn to the computer screen that allow you to click on them to run specific commands or do specific tasks. And what they really achieve is making using a computer significantly easier for a lot of people. So if you look back in time to the 70s and 80s, quite a lot of computers were text only as an interface, which made them quite hard to use for people that weren't computer people as such. So the introduction of graphical user interfaces really broadened the amount of people that can use computers effectively to do a job. And what we're going to do is start creating our own. So inside of MATLAB, the entire graphical user interface toolset is based off the plotting functionality inside of MATLAB. So it's all pretty much one and the same. So there's a few of these elements that you'll be familiar with already. Now there's two broad ways that we can create graphical user interfaces inside of MATLAB. We can put commands into the command window which generate the graphical objects, or we could use the built-in tool called Guide to create a graphical user interface for us. Now, both of those methods have their own benefits, and what we'll be doing in this set of videos is first going through what some of these commands are that we can put into the command window, how to use them and what objects are and how we can modify them, and then we'll go into a couple of videos on the guide tool. Alright, so let's start off with a couple of things that we already know. So everything is based off the figure window. So if I type figure into the command window and press enter, it opens this figure window. So this is usually filled with a plot, so when we call the plot function, it actually calls the figure window first and draws an axis on top of this. But what we can do is actually put graphical user interface objects inside of this figure to make our own interface. Alright, so I'm going to close this for now. But to really do that, we need to understand the idea of objects. Okay, so MATLAB is actually what's called an object-oriented language, which means things that are created are called objects and they have their own properties and methods associated with them. So what we actually need to do, or what we need to start doing, is saving a handle to these objects. So we've touched on handles before when we were talking about things like function handles. And what they are is just a specific reference to an object. So if we wanted the handle for this figure, we can put a variable name, say fig handle is equal to figure, and that creates our figure window. And as we can see in the bottom here, it's returned this handle. So a handle in the newer versions of MATLAB, so 2014 and 2015 versions of MATLAB, is actually a struct with a set of fields, and those fields are the different properties that we can change. So if we look at these fields that we have here, we've got number, so this is a unique number associated with that window. Name will be the name of the window. Color will be the color of it. Position will be how far from the bottom left, how far from the bottom left, which is the two values, so how far from the bottom, how far from the left, and then the width and the height. And then we have this units as pixels, so this is 680 pixels. Looks like 680 pixels from the left and 558 from the bottom. And what we can do is actually change these properties. So to do that, and because this is a struct, all we have to do is type handle variable, so struct fig handle, and put a full stop in, and then put the property that we want to change. So in this case, I might want to change the name and then assign some value to it. So e.g. 1002 screencast. All right, so when we've updated that, we can see that the field has been updated. Nothing else has changed. And when we open this window, we can see that in the title, we've now got EG 1002 SC. Now it might be a bit small because the font is quite small on this computer and it doesn't really come through on the video, but guaranteed it's there. All right, so that's our that's what handles let us do. We can change specific properties. Now, I've just closed that, so I won't be able to. I'll show you the error, what happens. So if you try to do something with a handle when it doesn't exist, we click on this, we'll get an error message, input to inspect must be a valid object, but because I just closed that window, I deleted the object. Okay, so the object exists while it's still open. As soon as it's closed, it becomes invalid. All right, so I'm going to recreate that, which has this, and because we've created it again, it doesn't have that name that we created for it before. Okay, so always keep that in mind. Every time we call these, we're creating a new instance of that object. So I'll minimize this guy. Now, what I wanted to do before I closed it last time was click on this all properties here. So when I click on all properties, it actually opens up all of the different properties that I can change. So we've got being deleted, busy action, button down function, clipping, close request function, color, create, current character, and there's a big heap of these. So go through these yourself. Most of the time, the names make sense as to what they do. Okay, so you should be able to go through, change these. A lot of these are text input or array inputs. There's a few drop-down boxes which change a few different features and whatnot. All right, so by itself, this figure window isn't too useful. I'm going to keep it open for now. What I'm going to do is make a plot of something. So I'm going to create my favorite example of a parabola. So it'll be x power 2 plus 2 multiplied by x minus 3. So that's a function handle, an anonymous function if you guys don't remember that. Now I can just do x equals linspace -10 to 10 with 100 points in it, and then plot underscore handle is equal to plot of x and y of x, and do that one. All right, so this time when I call plot is also a will return a handle to that specific plot. Here are some of the properties. We've got color, we've got the line style, we've got the line width, we've got what marker type there is, the marker size, the marker face color, and this X, Y, and Z data. Now, if we open our figure that we had before, we can see this plot here. Now, we can go through and change the properties to properties of this object to whatever we want. So let's change the line width. Now it is case sensitive. So if we change this one to 2, you can see it's updated to 2 there. When we go into this window, we've now got a thicker line. I just need to check that email, so I'll be back in a second.